open up the etc fstab, paste. If you're at the top and you want to go to the bottom or the last line, you can just do Shift G, capital G. That's going to take you to the last line. Let's first of all add line numbers. That's going to add line numbers. So we want to jump to line 14, which is the last line. We can just do Shift G, and that's going to take you to the last line. And if you want to go to the last character of this line, you'll just do the $sign. So I'm just going to do Shift number 4, and I will press I because I want to go into insert mode. I want to go into insert mode, and I want to add that line here on number 15, on line number 15. So I'm going to come in here, and as I said, if you don't want to use Vim, you can always use Nano. Nano is pretty straightforward. I will do Shift Insert to paste. On terminal, I think you paste with Control-Shift-V. That is on Linux. If you're using a different terminal application, find out how you can paste inside of that editing window. So after doing this, I'm just going to press Escape to get out of insert mode, and then I'm going to do Shift-ZZ to exit and save in Vim. Okay, you can see I'd already reached somewhere. This is an error that's happening, but don't worry about this. We're going to fix it. So if you go back to the etc tab, you'll see that is there. So I'll do Shift-ZZ again to exit that. And then now that we're done with editing all that, you can do FreeH again, and you'll see the memory you have, and you have your swap file as well. So when your memory runs out, the swap file will take over. The next step, we need to change the server host name. What we have here is you can use this to change your host name, and the host name needs to be a fully qualified domain name. A fully qualified domain name is a registered domain, and it can be a subdomain, like in this case, or it can be a full domain. In my case, I'm going to use a subdomain. Normally, if you're going to install a control panel, you should consider using a subdomain instead of using the full domain. And then this host control also gives you a bunch of other details about your server. So if I copy that, you can just use that to check your server host name. So you can see at some point I'd already changed my host name without knowing that it was not recording. So this host name control usually gives you a bunch of information about your VPS server. You can see their boot ID, virtualization method they're using, the operating system, the Linux kernel, and so much more. So if you want to know your host name only, you can just do host name like that, and it's going to show you your host name. So I'd already changed it, but let me just change it again because I was not recording at the time. So for now, I'm just going to call it pan1x as our new host name. And then we're going to change the host name. Control L, and then paste. Don't worry about that. We're going to fix that in a moment. So let's just check our new host name. And our new host name is that. For us to fix this issue that keeps showing up here, unable to resolve host name, no address associated with that, don't worry about that. We're going to fix that right now. And for us to fix that, we need to edit. We need to do the next step in changing our server host name. Whenever you're changing your host name, in most places you'll just find this is all they give you, but you also need to change the host name in the etc hosts file. Inside of this file, you can think of this file as your DNS provider, the internal DNS provider on your server. So when anything tries to interact with your system, they can be guided to the host name using this etc hosts file. So you'll add the host name inside of this file. So let me just edit it using Nano. I'm going to copy it from there, and we'll paste, and you'll see that initially this is what was our host name initially before I changed it, and then I changed it again. So that's why it keeps telling me that the hostname identity is not recognized. So what I can do is I will just copy my new host name from here, and this is the one that we're going to use as our new host name. So as well, inside of this, we also need to add one. So here I'm going to add 127. And then I'm going to add a tab. So I'm just adding this because this is also important. It's going to let the system know the local host server host name. So I'll do shift insert. So this is the actual host name for our server. And then the next thing you can see, even down here, we have the host name there. And then we also have that there. Now this is called an alias, and that's what you see when you log into your server. So let's add an alias, and the alias is going to be the first name, the first part of our host name. All right. So this should probably be up here, but I'm just going to add it down here as long as it's still in this file. And you can see mine does not accept IPv6 is not configured for my server, but if it were configured, the IPv6 details would be here, but they're not configured on my server. So right now I'm just using the IPv4. So as well, for your IP, you need to add your IP address there and let your IP point to your server host name. And then I'll just do tab, and then I'll do shift insert to paste. I want to paste this. So I'll select it and I'll just do shift insert. And then I will delete all these others. And I need to add an alias, pan1 x. That's pretty much it. So most importantly is that make sure your IP is pointing to your server host name. And you can also add that one there. So I'm going to do Control X and then Y and then enter to save our host name. And now if we do anything, you can see the error has gone away. This error, unable to resolve that host name, that has gone away. Now the next step, let's just restart our server because I have not rebooted the server. But sometimes if you're following along with me, you may find an issue whereby you'll find that you're unable to log in. But after everything we've done, if you followed along with me, you'll be able to access your server. But most importantly, make sure that when you're setting up the password for your user, you don't use any special characters if you're setting it within Contabo. If you're setting it within the SSH window here, you can use special characters because there won't be any miscommunication between the characters. So I'm just going to reboot this server. And once I reboot it, we're going to try to log back in, and I'm hoping there won't be any issue. But if there is an issue, I'm actually hoping for the issue as well, so that you can see how you can fix it if you're unable to log back into your server. And what is the next step here? The next thing we need to do, we've already changed that. The next step, this is easy. We can just set the time zone. I'm going to need to install this application on Debian if you want to use it to configure our time zone. And you can see it has just logged in. There we go, we're logged in. Now, one last thing after you've changed your server host name. So you can see my host name is being recognized by the system there. And it's also being put out there for us. So the next step after you've changed your server host name via SSH, the next step is for you to go into your Contabo and here under reverse DNS, come in here and then just do that. So whichever, maybe you're following along with a different VPS provider, see if they have this. I know on Valtra you can change this, on DigitalOcean you can change this as well, on Hetsna you can change this. So make sure you go into your settings on Hetsna, that is under network, you'll find this. On Valtra, go into, I don't know that it's under network, but it's under your server settings. You'll definitely find a way to change it there as well. So once you change it, this will reflect back to your IP address, and this is good. So if you're using this for sending mail and your IP address is not registered on any blacklist, then your mail has a higher chance of going into the inbox. The next thing is we need to set a time zone. Now on Debian, I know this is not installed. On Ubuntu, this is installed. So let me just install this using sudo apt install. Okay, so apparently it was already installed. Let us just use it to configure our time zone. Control L to clear the screen. And I will choose my time zone, A for Africa, and then N for Nairobi. And that's my time zone. If you need to confirm it, you can just do that. And you can see your time zones there. If you are in Canberra, Australia, Canberra, you can see that's your time zone. So change your time zone appropriately. Now, the last and final thing we're going to do, we're going to set up automatic updates. And this is very helpful. It will allow you to stay away from your server. Even if you don't log in, your server will always stay updated, and that's important when it comes to security. The updates, I think I don't have any updates, but let me just confirm if there are any updates first. Because if there are any updates, we are going to see how we're going to use them to test if our automatic updates is working. All packages are up to date. Let's install unattended upgrades. It's probably already installed, but let's just do this to see if it is already installed. Enter. Okay, it's not installed, so confirm installation. So after we install it, let's just activate automatic update. So please note that my website has stripped out one dash here. I don't know why it does that, but it has stripped out one dash on the front end. So the way to add it is like that, priority low. So I'm going to paste dash dash like that, and then this is going to ask you, do you want to automatically download and install stable updates? Yes. I will close the screen, and then now which app is this? Let's see. I don't remember why I added this, but let's just see why this is here. Okay, so it's already installed. I don't remember why I added that. Is it a replacement for some other package? But anyway, let's just leave that as there. It's already installed anyway. So this is what I'm saying here. My front end is stripping out that. So make sure you add the hyphens. And then sudo apt install update notifier common. Now this package is not available on Debian, but let's see which option they're going to. Now this is the one that you need if you're going to allow automatic reboots for your server. Without it, the auto reboots will not happen. So you're going to see the package has no installation candidates. This may mean that the package is missing, has been obsoleted, or is only available from another source. However, the following packages replace it. So let's just use that. apt config auto update. So just copy that and let's install this one instead. I think it does the same thing. That I'm not sure about, but the only thing it does, it ensures that your server can automatically reboot if you allow that inside of this. So right now our server is set up to automatically update, yes, but it is not updating everything. If you want to change it so that it can update everything, you need to edit this file on Debian 11. So if you come inside of this file, there are lots of things that you can do inside here. So let me add line numbers on Vim so that we can see it better. So we can add, after adding the line numbers, just scroll down and you'll see. So you can see the documentation for some of this is here. Just read them and you'll get a sense of exactly what these things mean. So you can see these have been allowed. These are what, if you need to allow any upgrade from any source, this is where you'll do it. This is where you'll allow the upgrade. So for example, you can see any package that originates from Debian and it comes from the distro name. I think the distro name for Debian 11, I've forgotten, but the distro name for Debian 11, and then Debian, if it is labeled Debian, it will be updated. Labeled Debian security will be updated. Any of these Debian packages will be updated. Now the next step is for you to allow any other elements that you want to update. So like for example, distro updates, you can allow updates for software packages. So any packages that you install from the default Debian repository, you can allow this to be updated as well. So you can see I've allowed this and I've allowed this. So packages that are installed and they're coming from the official Debian repository will be updated. The one thing that is not here and I'm not going to cover is how to add third-party repositories. Maybe you want to update PHP. PHP comes from a third-party provider. So if you find a situation whereby updates are happening but PHP is not being updated, you can always add it here. So this is where you'd add it, just under this. Okay, you just put the origin, whatever the origin for it is, and then the code name. If the code name is not there, you can forget about it, and then the label. Okay, you'll just ignore the code name if it's not there, and then label, you add that there for the third-party packages that you want to update if they're not coming from the Debian repository. So if you need a video for that, just let me know. I may create it for you if you need it. If more people ask for it, I will create it. Now, the next thing here, so we've allowed packages to be updated. However, there may be packages that you don't want to update. You can blacklist certain packages so that they're not updated along with all the other packages. So for example, let's say you don't want to update Nginx, you don't want to update some other package, you can disallow them through here. So for instance, I'm going to press I to go into insert mode, and then I'll press enter to create a new line here. Let's say I don't want to allow MariaDB to be updated automatically. I'll just put it within quotations. If I don't want MariaDB to be updated, and then I'll end that line. Maybe I don't want certain Python packages to be updated. So I can just do something like that. And then I will do Py if it starts with Py. So any package that starts with Py will not be updated. Send mail, yeah. So here on send mail, here on line 92, you can enable email notifications. If you want to receive mail whenever there's an update, you can do that here. So if you come in here, you can enter your email address. Make sure that your server has a mail server and it can send mail. If it can't send mail, this is futile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into insert mode and I'm going to add a sample email. It will be sent to that email. So I'm just going to leave that there. And then we're going to do debug and it will tell you that your server can't send mail. Just wait for that part. Now the next step, is there anything else here? Reboot, yeah, there on line 115. You can see reboot. So unattended upgrade, automatic reboot. So for the application that we installed, I'm hoping that that is enough. So whenever there's an update, a reboot can happen automatically. If a reboot is required, then the reboot will happen automatically. You know, there are certain packages that when updated, especially the kernel, then an update will trigger a reboot. So in that case, you'll change that to true. So I'm just going to use that as an example. So pretty much let's assume that this is all you want to do with your updates, all right? Most importantly, you've already set it up so that it can update your packages as well as Debian as well. So I'm going to do escape to get out of insert mode, and then I'm going to do Shift ZZ to save everything. So you can read that. Maybe there's something there that I missed. Now you can test. If you want to run the update on demand, you can do that. But let's use this to run it in debug mode. If we run it in debug mode, it's going to tell us if there's any issue. If there's any issue, it's going to let us know. -- debug. So it's going to see if there's anything here that could be upgraded or there's any error. Like one error we can expect is that it won't be able to send mail. Like no, so cannot send mail, you can see. That's because my server doesn't have exam devcot, which is configured to send mail. So that's something that is going to tell you. If you had any packages that required updating, you would see them here. So let's say that you just want to test if this runs and you have packages that could be updated and upgraded. What you can do is you can just do -d. -d is going to, I'll do Control L to clear the screen. -d is going to run the unattended upgrade right away. If there are any updates that need to be run, they will be run. That's pretty much it for this initial server setup. Finally, let's say you want to install HestiaCP. HestiaCP supports Debian 11. It's a lightweight control panel. You can use it to manage your web server and run WordPress applications, Magento, any PHP-based applications, even static websites. You can use HestiaCP to run it. And I do have a full playlist tutorial with this. So if you want to install it, you can just click here on script, generator, and you'll come here on GitHub and you can generate. I usually don't use Apache, I prefer Nginx. So PHP FPM will run with Nginx. You want to install multiple PHP versions. I'll just leave this as default. Exam, devcot, you can leave those as they are. Quarter, maybe you want to deploy Quarter for people that are using your server. And then API, if I'm not going to use the API, I'm just going to disable it for HestiaCP. And then most importantly, let us force the installation so that if there is any error, the installation is going to happen anyway. And then look at, if you want to use Cloudflare, make sure that you change the port to something that Cloudflare supports. So you can do something like 2053. And this way you can access the Hestia panel using the Cloudflare network. So I do have a video for setting up DNS and you can find that on my channel. If you just go online and even search for HestiaCP DNS. Let's see if my video is going to come up. Okay, so it's not coming up. You can just add HestiaCP DNS Bizanosa. Okay, that's not coming up as well. Now, if we search HestiaCP DNS, let's search on Google. Search with Google and search for Hestia. Yeah, this is a video. So if you search for it on Google, set up DNS on HestiaCP. That is the video. It's pretty brand new. It will help you to set up your DNS records using Cloudflare, or if you want to use your personal name servers. You've seen how you can change your host name. So make sure the host name that you change is what you use, on your installation, and then add an email address, an actual working email address for your user. And then a password. You can set a password, or even if you don't set a password, you can always refresh your password. Just come down here. I added this. You can refresh your password for the admin user or whichever user. Just add the password there. But you can always set your password there, and that's the one you'll use for logging in. And then once you're done generating the installation script, just run that. If you click on that, it gets copied. Run it on your server. Once you log in, after you run that, you run this, and this will begin installing HestiaCP. Just one last time. I'm going to reboot my server and then try to log back in, because I don't want a situation whereby you followed along with me and then you get locked out of your server. So if you follow along with me, you'll see that everything is just going to work well for you as well. So give it time to restart. We can try Just give the server time to reboot. You can see you can log in. If you followed along with me, you'll see that you can log into your server no matter how many times you restart it. So if you do experience any error, just let me know in the comments and I will be able to help you in any way. And if you're going to use Contabo, feel free to support me. Just go to bizenosa.com/Contabo and that's going to bring you to the Contabo VPS page, right? You can see Contabo provides very affordable VPSs. You can try them and see if they are a good fit for you. If they're not, you can always use another VPS. So that's it for this video. In this video, you've seen how you can set up Debian 11 from start to finish. And the post we used is here. So if you want to follow along, just go to bizenosa.com/Ubuntu22 and that's going to redirect you to this page and you can follow along and do all these things that we did. See you in another video.